Peace be with you. Dear friends, we celebrate Wednesday in the 13th week in the ordinary time. Today's gospel taken from Matthew chapter 8 verses 28 to 34. Remember that the day before Jesus had been busy in the area around Capernaum on the northwest shore of the Sea of Galilee. That night the disciples and Jesus had left Capernaum to cross to the other side of the sea. Also, that in the midst of their journey, they encountered a very severe storm that threatened to swamp the boat and drown them. They had cried out to Jesus to save them, and he did so by rebuking the wind and the sea, telling them to be still, and they were all saved. Then they marveled and said, "What kind of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him?" Today, as they come out of the boat and start up the hill on their way to the village, they pass by a graveyard where they are met by two demon possessed men. Now we realize there are some that doubt the existence of demons, or that if they do exist, they cannot control a man. The case before us presents just the opposite. Not only do demons exist, but also they can control the actions of an individual. Our text tells us that these demonized men were coming out of the tombs. These men were so mentally deranged by the demons that they were actually living in a graveyard. Their place of residence matched the conditions they were in, defiled and unclean. Matthew tells us that they were so exceedingly violent that no one could pass by that road anymore. The people in the area were afraid of these two demon possessed men, and with good reason. Mark and Luke only talk about one of these demonized men and describe him in more detail, telling about his great strength. Mark in chapter 5 tells no one was able to bind him anymore, even with a chain, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, and the chains had been torn apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces, and no one was strong enough to subdue him. Nothing in this text or in Mark or in Luke indicate why the demons wanted to go into the herd of pigs, except they saw this as a better option than being cast into the abyss by Jesus. It is safe to assume that they knew Jesus would not grant them going into some other person. So possibly they thought Jesus would accept this option since they were unclean and the swine were also considered unclean by the Jewish law. We do know from both Mark and Luke that there were many demons, even calling themselves by the same name, Legion, for we are many. We also know from Mark there were about 2,000 pigs in that herd. These men had many demons in them, and now that they were about to be cast out of the men, they request Jesus to let them go into the swine herd. This is a great event of exorcism by Jesus. To be precise, this miracle of casting out demons from those two men happened in the predominantly non-Jewish region of the Gadarenes, which explains the presence of swine herders and a large number of pigs. Jews considered pigs as filthy, unclean, and worthy of nothing more than contempt. Jesus casts out the demons, and they enter into the pigs and perish in the sea. Jesus commands the evil spirits, and they obey him. Jesus came to the earth in order to seek and save the lost, to redeem sinful man. His death, burial, and resurrection were all done so that Jesus could transfer us from the kingdom of darkness into his kingdom of light. If we come to Jesus, dear friends, confess our sins, he will forgive us and cleanse us just as he did to the demoniacs. The response he desires from us in return is the response of the demoniac who was healed. He said, "I want to follow you," and a willingness to go and do whatever he says. The scriptures tell us of many things that He wants us to do in following Him, including being good stewards of all that He has given to us, using our gifts to build His church, reaching out to those that are in need, those that are lost, and for us to live holy lives. We don't need to be afraid of evil spirits because Jesus is with us and He will see that we are safe. Let us surrender ourselves today to Jesus, who is going to liberate us from sinfulness and from the power of the devil. God bless you.